Hello, if you don't know me, my name is Erin. If you do know me, welcome back. I had brain surgery 15 days ago. So I'm currently in our spare room right now, which is why it's a wee bit of a different setup. But I wanted to come on and I wanted to update you in terms of my recovery after brain surgery. So my craniotomy was, like I said, 15 days ago, and I just wanted to show you literally would never know looking at me. It is absolutely unbelievable. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you where my scar is. So if you don't want to see it, feel free to skip ahead. But if you do, I'm going to show you now. It's really not that bad. It's a lot better than what I was expecting, so I'm very happy with it. I do have some other cuts in my head, and it was because they had a wee tube in my head that was stapled, and also because during the craniotomy they had like a vice. So they had like, I had a wee cut there when I woke up and one there at the back of my head, so I have a wee cut still there, but really small, really not that bad. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. My heart is so full and I feel like I could cry even just thinking about the last video I posted talking about my signs and symptoms of my brain tumour. I cannot believe the positive response that I got, how many people have reached out, how many people have subscribed. I will be forever grateful to you. I really appreciate it, so thank you so much. It's made my recovery time so much better. So I'm going to take you through what my recovery was like, but before I do, I just want to talk about right before surgery for a wee bit. So whenever I left my loved ones and I was ready to go in for surgery, they had me sitting on a bed and I was just waiting to be pushed down. And I looked over and I seen a wee bathroom, and so I was like, be right back. And I went over to the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I did the Superman pose. So if you've ever seen Grey's Anatomy, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, where Amelia, the neurosurgeon who ended up having a brain tumour as well, she would stand and she would do the Superman pose in the mirror before doing anything, and she always performed a lot better. So I stood there for 5 minutes doing the Superman pose and I felt so much better going into surgery after doing that. So if you're in the same situation as me and you're going in for any kind of surgery, do that for 5 minutes right before and I promise you'll feel a lot better. Let's talk about after surgery now and my recovery stage. So when I woke up after surgery, I did have a lot of like equipment attached to me. I had blood pressure monitors at like the top of both my arms and I was on oxygen with the wee tube. I also had the electric compression things on my legs from my knees right down to my ankles, and I had them on the whole time I was in hospital. It's getting really bright, so I'm getting kind of blinded because my eyes are super sensitive to light still, but I'm pushing on. So I did have IVs in my arm, in my hand and in my foot also, and I also had a catheter in. So when I woke up and I had all that equipment attached to me, I was in the recovery room. So I wasn't in the ICU yet. They were waiting for a free ICU room to open up before I could move on. So I ended up being in the recovery room for a few hours. In that time, my surgeon actually came in and said hello to me for like 2 minutes. And also my anesthesiologist, I think that's the right word, came in as well and had a wee chat to me too. So they came in and they told me that it went really well, that they were pretty sure that they got all of it, but they were going to do an MRI anyway just to double check, and they seemed pretty happy. So when they talked to my family, they said the same thing. However, the surgeon said at this stage that he was pretty sure it was some type of glioma brain tumour. So if you watch my last video, you'll know that we don't know what kind it is, but he was saying it's a glioma. He wasn't sure what type, but he was still wishing that it's a grade 1. However, there is the possibilities that it could be an aggressive one. So at this stage, we still don't know. There's one that is only ever really found in children, and he was hoping that it was that one. So again, hoping and praying it's that one, but I'm supposed to find out later on today. I'm praying and hoping and manifesting that I am very lucky and it is a grade 1. So once I eventually got into the ICU, I realised then that I had a thing attached to my head, and that's what was stapled to it. And what that was for was to relieve the pressure in my brain. So I thought it was some sort of tube. I believe it's called an air bumper, but I'm not really sure. But I know it was to relieve the pressure in my brain, and I only had that in for about a day and a half, and then they took it out. Before the surgery, they had talked about the expectations after surgery. They thought I was going to have a few issues in terms of communicating and speaking because of where my tumour was, and also with walking. The expectations versus reality is actually really good. When I woke up in the recovery room, I was able to speak immediately. The surgeon was very pleased, the nurses, everyone that I talked to was very pleased and surprised that I recovered so well. So that was not an issue. What was kind of funny was my memory, and it still kind of is, even 15 days later. So in terms of remembering names of people, of places, of objects, I have a very hard time, but especially in the hospital, it was very difficult. However, even today, if you tell me the name of something, it doesn't like unlock the way it normally would, where you're like, oh yeah, that's it. It doesn't come back like that. It just, I'm like, oh, is that what it's called? Everyone's like, yep, that's what it is, and I'm like, okay. Like, it doesn't feel familiar, which is very strange, but that's becoming less and less frequent, which is very, very nice. In terms of pain, right after the surgery, my head was very sore, like the actual cut spot was sore. I was absolutely exhausted. I slept for like the whole first day. And I was really, really covered in bruises, and I still kind of am. They're almost gone. I will pop a wee photo here of whenever I got home and they were starting to kind of clear up, but I had bruises even on my feet because I had that IV in my foot, so that was a lot. But I got a lot of painkillers while I was in the hospital, so it was grand. Especially when you're in the ICU and it's one-on-one, like nurse to patient support. That's very, very nice. They are on top of you, they're making sure that you're grand, they're following up with you literally every like 10 minutes and making sure you're okay. So I really, really enjoyed staying in the ICU. I will say, however, if you're going to be going through this, or you're going to be in the ICU for whatever reason, it is absolutely freezing in there. It is a lot colder than the general hospital. So please bring your own blankets. I brought my own. I had a robe on me, and I had like 12 blankets that they had heated up for me, and I was still shaking after brain surgery for the first day and a half. So make sure you ask for a lot of blankets and bring your own as well. In terms of medication while in the hospital, I was on a lot. They brought me my painkillers every 4 hours, and I had IVs in, and I believe a lot of those were like anti-sickness, so I didn't feel sick, which I didn't the whole time I was there really. I had a couple of days where I didn't really eat and I wasn't really good, and they would just bring me more anti-sickness and then it would just bring me round again. But it really wasn't that bad in comparison to when I came home. So at the time in the hospital, I felt pretty sick, but when I got home, it was a million times worse. So the hospital was grand. They were obviously doing a good job. So when I was in the ICU, on the second day of being there, they like said to me, you know, you have to go down for a CT, but I wasn't allowed to walk yet. So they pushed me down in the bed, and then they lifted me out like on the sheet and put me onto the CT. Then after that, they lifted me back, and I went back and I was just waiting, and eventually a woman came down and she was going to help me walk. So she said, okay, you know, put your legs over, stand up. That was very odd. You almost feel like absolutely exhausted, a wee bit drunk, kind of trying to do it, but was grand, was able to do it on my own. And then we walked for a wee bit, and I kind of had to stop because I was so dizzy and my eyesight was so funny. It almost felt like I was seeing double. It was very tough. And so she said to me, do you want to stop? Do you want to go back? Do you need to hold on to me? And I said, no, just take it a minute. Let's walk around the whole ward, and which we did. And after it, she started to laugh, and she said to me, well, you don't need me, you're grand, so I could just go back now. And I was like, okay, great. And so nobody else helped me walk. That was it. And I wasn't walking as normal, right? Like I said, it was very slow and it was a wee bit tough, but as time went on in the hospital, it kind of got a wee bit better every single day. And when I came home, literally day by day, a wee bit better, and now I can walk completely normal. So it's really good. So I had my surgery on the Wednesday. Whenever I was on the Thursday, that's when we did the walk-in, and it was Thursday afternoon that they moved me into the general hospital. So the general hospital was a lot warmer than the ICU. I had a really cool TV that I could like bring down in front of me, and I just was watching Netflix all the time, and all the nurses and doctors that I was dealing with were really lovely. However, I did not see my surgeon after the recovery room, but other doctors and nurses would come in, haven't spoke to him, so that was grand. Okay, just a quick interruption. I came over from the spare room back over into my house, and my dad and Devin told me that when I was in the ICU, the surgeon came down and talked to me and did tests with me and decided that I should be moved to the general ward, and I had absolutely no recollection of that, so that's hilarious. I would have never ever guessed that. So that's very interesting that I didn't remember, but that's really good. So hopefully I hear from him today, but you can go back now. So I was in the general hospital from Thursday, Friday, and on Saturday morning they sent me home because that's how good I was. Like I said, I could walk, and there was a toilet in my room, but instead I would get up I would walk all the way down out of the room, all the way down the longest corridor to go to the bathroom at the very end, just because I wanted to push myself to walk. And in that time I didn't see any other neuro patients walking, and that's the floor I was on. So I obviously was doing really well, and I was very proud of myself, and I was so excited to leave on Saturday. So I'm going to pop some footage here to show you what time was like while I was in the hospital before I got to leave on Saturday. Okay, so Saturday comes round and I leave the hospital and I go home, which was great. And when I got home, I was on 5 different medications. So I'm going to pop the name of them here. I was on the same painkillers originally than what I was on the hospital. However, when I took those for the first week, I thought I was going to throw up the whole time. I had this horrible feeling as if I could feel here I'm about to be sick, but I also felt like I've never ate a meal in my life. I could feel the acid as if I was starving, but I was trying not to throw up. So that was a very complicated situation for me. So when I got home, I had a lot of pain. Of course, my head, where they entered, my whole head really felt super sensitive. It still does after 2 weeks. I'd be afraid when I'm brushing my hair and I'm trying to do it really gentle. My eyes have been very sore, really specifically my left one. And even every day when I wake up, I see double of everything. And as I'm sitting here, I'm squinting my eyes because it's so bright and my eyes are really sensitive to it. Even my left eyelid is still super swollen, and for the longest time, me staring straight ahead is grand, right? And I can look around everywhere. But see, if I'm to take my left eye and look over here, it was hurting so incredibly bad either way. Now I do it and I feel the pressure, but it's not as painful. So I can still do it now. I just feel I'm straining my eye. Whereas for the first week and a half at least, I'd say, it was very sore. I could not do it at all. And one day my eyes started twitching because I had done it, so that was a wee bit tough. So from the start of my eyebrow all the way down past my jaw was completely numb and very sore. And in the 2 weeks that has gotten better. From here now I can feel it. It feels kind of a hard way to describe. It doesn't feel numb, but it doesn't feel normal. It feels kind of tingly. That's it. I feel it's coming around, but it's sore and not normal. And then from now it's about here. That's very sore down, but my jaw is grand, so it's going up. However, I can't open my jaw the whole way, and I can't stick my tongue out the whole way. So again, every single day I'm feeling a wee bit better every day, so I know I'll be normal in hopefully a couple of weeks, which is brilliant. So it's a lot faster than what I was expecting to. An unexpected pain that I had for the first 12 days, I still have a wee bit now, but it's not anywhere near as intense, is pain in my arms and my legs. So it feels like a knot behind my knees. Don't have that anymore, but I still have it in my arms, where my arms would be okay if I kept them bent. However, anytime I stretched out my arm or tried to do this, even when I do this now, I feel it here, but nowhere near as painful. But I still feel it, but it's going away. But even if I had my arm down and tried to stretch it out, it would hurt so bad. So bad. So I couldn't get changed on my own because I was in so much pain. It was crazy. And I also couldn't look down, right? You're not allowed to, but you can't look down at the ground. Even now when I do it, my head still spins a wee bit, but it's a lot better than what it was. In terms of walking, whenever I got out of the hospital, I definitely couldn't walk normally. I mean, I could walk wee bits slowly around my house. My house is very small, so it was grand. I couldn't walk outside really for the first couple of days. Whenever I couldn't look down at the steps out, right? And I had to be linked on to somebody. So I was linking on to my dad, I was linking on to Devon, and I was walking around outside very little, but just trying to build it up, especially because it's so cold here in Canada and it's snowing now. It was kind of tough at the time, and I was in my dressing gown, right, or my robe, so in pajamas, in my wee house slippers, and just very slowly linking onto them and trying to build that up. And that worked so well. Within maybe 7 or 8 days, maybe, it gotten a lot better. And over the last couple of days, I have been able to walk completely normal on my own outside. I don't need to link on to anyone, which is fantastic. I'm doing really well. I talked about my pain medication earlier, right, where I said I felt really sick. I was only on that for like the first week or so because I was struggling, and I eventually moved over to a less intense painkiller. So my head was actually a wee bit more sore. However, I did not feel like I was gonna be sick, and I 1,000,000% would do that every single time. As of right now, in terms of medication I'm on, I am still on my anti-seizure tablets, and I'm still taking those painkillers. So I'm taking them every 8 hours and taking my anti-seizures every night before I go to bed. So I'm supposed to find out really shortly in the next day, hopefully, what kind of tumour I have, and hopefully then I'll know how long I'll be on my anti-seizures for. So if anybody has any questions at all in terms of recovery, in terms of what to bring with you to the hospital, anything at all, I would be more than happy to help you. I feel so appreciative of all the people that commented on my last one, all of the connections that I've made. It's made my heart so full. So if I can help you at all, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you need anything, message me, comment, whatever you want, let me know, and I will let you know as soon as I find out what kind of tumour it is. Bye bye.